Hi, today let's go over how to update existing measures in RPM. When we log into RPM or Results through Performance Management, we'll arrive at the Performance Measures tab. Let's scroll down and look at Draft and Approved Measures. Let's say we want to update one of our approved measures. Let's pick this test one. The first thing we want to do is copy to draft. We can edit any of our draft measures. Once our draft measures are submitted, and we can do so by pressing Submit up above and checking the ones we're interested in, it will change to under review. When a draft measure is under review, we can't make any more draft measures. In fact, there can only be one draft measure per approved measure. And when a draft measure is approved, it will overwrite the current approved measure and the draft measure will be deleted. So let's go in and see the different things that we can update here. We've already selected the measure we're interested in. Let's press Update. In the definition section, we can update any of these information. We can update any of these areas. Most of these have already been filled out when we first created our measure. The only thing we can't change is the number, which is automatically made when we create our measure. Let's go to the Usages section. The Usage section identifies how the measure will be used. Here we selected GMAP. We can also select Internal. Our internal provides a means for agencies to create agency-only measures. You can select as many usage types as you want. When you have multiple agencies, the lead agency will select the usage type. Here, the question of related to economic stimulus, this is automatically updated when the economic recovery usage type is selected. In CFDAs, this is the Catalog of Federal Domestic Assistance, which is optional. It's a government-wide consortium of federal programs, projects, and services, and activities that provide assistance or benefits to the American public. Themes is also optional. It identifies measures by associated topic, and each usage type has different themes, and the themes available will be based on usage types. You can have none to multiple themes. Because we haven't changed anything here, we can go directly to the next section. Let's go to additional details. Under additional details, this section captures the analysis and data from the definition, information, and more. If you want more help for these sections, you can go to our performance measurement guide. Under contacts, this gives OFM information on who they should reach out to if they have questions or more information. Here you can see that this measure has a subject matter expert and a submitter. But we can change, let's say we want to update these. Let's say our submitter has changed. So first, let's remove our current submitter. Let's say we just want to remove that. Great. Next is geographic locations. Geographic locations provides a means to identify the location relevant to the performance site. The summary analysis, which is optional for submittal, this is a high-level summary of the explanation and analysis of the performance on the performance measure. When you're filling this out, there are several things to think about. We want to answer the focusing question. We want to include the main data in 1 or 2 sentences, highlight the most important 1 to 3 points, and the summary analysis should be updated for each report, assuming that there is new data or information available. Be sure not to include uncommon acronyms or technical languages. Areas to consider including: what the data shows, why it's important or why it matters, and what factors have influenced it in the past and future. The detailed analysis is again optional. It provides space for further analysis or background information that supplements the summary analysis. The notes, which remain unpublished, provide space for details like footnotes or anything else that may help you when referring back to this measure. The user-defined field is optional, but it provides space for agency-unique text. Action plans. Action plans are only added within a performance measure, but once created can be linked to other performance measures. Great. Because I've added some information and changed some information, let's press apply so we can keep on working. Next, we can go to the tracking data section. This is where we can add historic data by adding a biennium, then choosing a previous period. So from here, we can update any of these. The unit type, the unit label, which is helpful in reports because it will give a more descriptive title. The target range. If this is selected, it will generate an option for upper and lower target of the performance measure improvement. If it's a ratio, this allows a measure to be comprised of two numbers, a numerator and a denominator. The frequency type is how often we report out, and the precision is how many places after the decimal are to be used for the measure. 0, 1, or 2 are preferred. Let me note that decimal places will truncate when the level of tracking precision is decreased. If a user decreases the level of tracking, the system will warn you that the data will be truncated. The direction of success tells us which way we want the data to change in order to be successful. Here we can see when the data increases, that's what we want. Next, tracking periods. This is how we can add and update our data. Let's go over some of the common fields here. The biennium is the current budget process biennium, which contains the tracking period for the performance measure. If this is blank, you can add a biennium by selecting Create Biennium. From here, there's the period, which is the numeric indicator related to the sequence of end dates. This is system generated. The end date is the date the performance period ends by month, date, and year, and this is system generated. The actual is the number to be displayed. It could be numeric with decimal, or ratio measures use a numerator and denominator. The target is the estimated target of future performance achievement. The estimate is an estimate of future performance, and estimates are not included in RPM reports. And you always have an option to add a comment about the data. Next, system data pulled from. This is optional, but you can add a site, a preparer or system, or a report to source the data from. You can finally, on this section, add the date the data is current as of. This is useful to display the lag time in data measures. Let's move over to associations. This section allows a performance measure to be associated with different areas of interest to the agency, including budget activities, agency programs and subprograms, and partnership agencies for GMAP. Currently, this only has one agency, which automatically makes it the lead. The lead agency has primary responsibility of the measure. You can add other agencies, which will be partnership agencies, any agency that contributes to the measure. Under Related Performance Measures, this is an option to add any measures with contextual or direct relationship to the current measure. Under Hierarchies, this is a mathematical parent-child relationship between performance measures. This feature allows for the more detailed entry of performance data. Under supported activities, you can select any or all budget activities that support this measure. If the measure contains a usage type of budget, then at least one activity from the current biennium for the lead agency is required to be selected prior to submittal. Other usage types can contain budget activities, but they are optional. Under programs, you can add or remove agency programs that support the measure, similarly with subprograms. Organizations, you can add an organization to the performance measure. Again, this is optional. When you add an organization, it will open up another screen. It'll ask you for the title, abbreviation, email address, and the type of organization. Other information on this page includes the total cost estimate amount. Add an estimated cost for the activity descriptions, programs, and subprograms if applied and relevant to the measure. Add any comments if you have a total cost estimate amount about the cost estimate that should be considered for review. Lastly, on this page is funding sources. If there are any costs associated from the above sections, add the source the funding is coming from. In the last section, we can update our measures with is the attachments. You can attach files and links to other documents. So if you have any helpful background information, reports, maps, and websites that would be helpful, you can add them here under Files, or you can add a hyperlink. Those are all the changes that I wanted to make. So let's press Save, which will take us back. So from here, we can see this is our draft measure, and if we were all done, we can select it and say Submit. And that way, we're all done making the edits and changes to our measure.